September 1942. Amidst the desolate ruins of Stalingrad, a German elite sniper, a master of his deadly craft, meticulously surveyed the shattered landscape. He believed he held the psychological advantage, a silent terror stalking the Soviet defenders. But in the heart of that inferno, a voice defiant and resolute echoed back, "We're not surrendering." This bold reply would not only stun the German high command, but ignite a legendary duel that would define the brutal struggle for the city. To understand how it happened, we must go back to the summer of 1942, a period of immense peril for the Soviet Union. The German Wehrmacht, after sweeping through vast territories of the Eastern Front, had set its sights on Stalingrad, a city of immense strategic and symbolic importance on the Volga River. Hitler himself saw its capture as crucial, both for its industrial output and as a psychological blow to the Soviet regime. The battle that ensued would become the largest and bloodiest confrontation in human history. A grinding, block-by-block struggle for every street, every building, every meter of ground. The initial German advance was relentless, pushing the Red Army to the brink of collapse, trapping them against the vast expanse of the Volga. The city became a crucible of unimaginable suffering, where survival itself was a daily miracle. Both sides understood that the fate of the Eastern Front, and perhaps the entire war, hinged on the outcome of Stalingrad. The German Sixth Army, under General Paulus, spearheaded the assault, confident in their superior training and equipment, believing the city would fall swiftly. However, they underestimated the fierce determination of the Soviet defenders who, under Stalin's infamous Order No. 227, not one step back, were prepared to fight to the last man. This decree instilled a desperate resolve, turning every soldier into a potential hero or martyr. The situation in Stalingrad by late summer 1942 was dire for the Soviet forces. The German Sixth Army had pushed deep into the city, controlling most of the western and central districts. The Volga River, the lifeline for Soviet supplies and reinforcements, was under constant German artillery fire and air attack. Soviet soldiers were clinging to precarious positions in factories, ruined buildings and sewer systems, often fighting hand-to-hand in the rubble. The Luftwaffe maintained air superiority for much of the early battle, pounding the city into a lunar landscape of shattered concrete and twisted metal. Supply lines were tenuous, and casualties mounted rapidly on both sides. German infantry, supported by tanks and Stukas, systematically cleared building after building, often engaging in brutal close-quarters combat. The fighting was characterized by extreme brutality and a complete disregard for human life, transforming the city into a meat grinder. Yet amidst this apocalyptic landscape, a new, insidious threat began to emerge from the Soviet lines: the sniper. These hidden marksmen, operating alone or in small teams, became ghosts in the rubble, picking off German officers, machine gunners, and even tank commanders with chilling precision. Their presence instilled a pervasive fear, forcing German soldiers to move cautiously, constantly scanning the shattered windows and bombed-out factories. The psychological toll was immense, slowing the German advance and turning every corner into a potential death trap. The battle for Stalingrad was no longer just about tanks and artillery. It was about individual wills clashing in a deadly game of hide-and-seek, where a single bullet could change the course of a local engagement. It was into this maelstrom that Vasily Zaytsev arrived. Born in 1915 in Yeleninka, a small village nestled in the vast, rugged expanse of the Ural Mountains, Zaytsev was a man of humble origins. His early life was characterized by the harsh realities of rural existence, where self-reliance and practical skills were paramount for survival. Before the war, he had served as a clerk in the Soviet Pacific Fleet, stationed far from the European front lines. This administrative role, seemingly mundane, belied the deep-seated capabilities he possessed. But beneath his unassuming exterior lay a lifetime of honed skills, forged not in military academies, but in the unforgiving wilderness. From a young age, he had hunted deer and wolves in the vast snow-covered forests and open steppes of the Urals, learning patience, stealth, and an uncanny ability to read the terrain. His grandfather, a seasoned hunter and a figure of immense influence, had taught him to shoot. instilling in him a deep respect for the rifle and the art of the precise shot. This early training provided him with an unparalleled understanding of ballistics, camouflage, and the psychology of the hunt. When the call came for volunteers to the front, Zaytsev, like millions of his countrymen, answered without hesitation. He carried with him not just his rifle, but the quiet determination of a man who understood the value of a single, well-placed shot, a skill that would soon elevate him to legendary status in the ruins of Stalingrad. Vasily Zaytsev's early life in the remote Ural mountains was a harsh but invaluable training ground, shaping him into the formidable marksman he would become. His family, like many in the region, relied heavily on hunting for sustenance, making the pursuit of game not a sport, but a necessity. From the tender age of 5, his grandfather, a grizzled and experienced hunter, began teaching him the fundamentals of marksmanship. Young Vasily learned to track animals through snow-covered forests, to move with an almost supernatural silence, and to remain motionless for hours, observing his surroundings with an acute, almost predatory awareness. He mastered the art of camouflage, blending seamlessly into the natural environment, becoming one with the landscape. More than just the mechanics of shooting, his grandfather imparted lessons in patience, the ability to anticipate an animal's movements, and the critical importance of understanding the subtle nuances of the wind, the shifting light, and the varied terrain. These were not mere hobbies, they were essential survival skills, deeply ingrained into his being through years of practical application and observation. This upbringing cultivated a unique blend of physical endurance, mental fortitude, and an almost intuitive understanding of ballistics and fieldcraft, qualities that would soon prove indispensable in the crucible of war, transforming a simple hunter into a deadly force on the battlefield. His connection to the land and its rhythms gave him an edge that formal military training often overlooked, allowing him to perceive and exploit advantages that others simply could not. When Zaytsev joined the Red Army, his exceptional shooting skills quickly became apparent, even with standard-issue equipment. Initially armed with a common Mosin Nagant rifle, he demonstrated an extraordinary ability to hit targets at extreme ranges, far beyond what was expected of a regular infantryman. His precision was so remarkable that it caught the attention of his commanding officers. Recognizing his unique talent, he was soon given a sniper rifle, a more specialized weapon designed for accuracy at long distances. This upgrade further enhanced his already formidable capabilities. He quickly distinguished himself, not just by the sheer number of enemy soldiers he eliminated, but by his methodical and innovative approach to combat. Zaytsev developed a tactical innovation he called the sixes method, where he would position 3 snipers in a small area, each covering a different sector. This allowed them to create a wide, overlapping field of fire, confuse the enemy about their exact location, and provide mutual support, making them far more effective and resilient than a lone sniper. He became a mentor, training other Soviet soldiers in the art of sniping, sharing his invaluable knowledge of concealment, observation, and the psychological aspects of the hunt. His reputation grew rapidly, transforming him from an ordinary soldier into a symbol of resistance and a beacon of hope for the beleaguered defenders of Stalingrad. His influence extended beyond his own kills, multiplying the effectiveness of the entire Soviet sniper corps. Zaytsev's success, and that of the growing number of Soviet snipers he inspired and trained, began to have a tangible and devastating impact on the German forces. The constant threat from unseen enemies chipped away relentlessly at their morale and severely disrupted their operational capabilities. German officers and non-commissioned officers, vital for maintaining discipline, coordinating attacks, and leading their units, became prime targets. Their elimination often led to confusion and disarray within German ranks, slowing advances and increasing casualties. The psychological pressure mounted exponentially, turning the once confident German advance into a cautious, nerve-wracking crawl. Every shattered window, every pile of rubble, every shadow became a potential hiding spot for a deadly marksman. The German High Command, recognizing the severe and growing threat posed by these Soviet marksmen, understood that a direct and decisive response was necessary. They could not allow individual snipers to undermine the entire offensive and erode the fighting spirit of their elite troops. It was decided that an equally skilled, highly trained German sniper, a master of his own craft, would be dispatched to Stalingrad with a singular critical mission: eliminate Vasily Zaytsev and break the spirit of the Soviet resistance. This marked a profound turning point, elevating the battle from a large-scale conflict to a deeply personal duel between two masters of their deadly craft, a contest that would capture the attention of both sides. The arrival of the German super sniper, often identified as Major König, though historical records vary on his exact identity and rank, sometimes referred to as Major Heinz Thorwald, signaled a new and intense phase in the psychological warfare of Stalingrad. This German marksman was reportedly the head of a sniper school in Berlin, a veteran with extensive combat experience and a formidable reputation for his precision and cunning. His mission was not merely to kill, it was to demoralize the Soviet defenders by systematically eliminating their most effective snipers, thereby restoring German confidence and breaking the spirit of the Red Army. The challenge was clear: a high-stakes duel between the best of the best, with the fate of a city and the morale of two armies hanging in the balance. Propaganda on both sides quickly amplified the narrative, transforming the individual struggle into a microcosm of the larger conflict, a personal battle for supremacy. The German snipers' presence was felt almost immediately. Soviet snipers began to disappear with alarming regularity, and their carefully chosen positions were compromised with chilling precision. This was no ordinary foe. This was a hunter of hunters, a master of deception and stealth, and Zaytsev knew instinctively that he had to confront him directly, for the survival of his comrades and the morale of his unit depended on it. Vasily Zaytsev understood the immense gravity of the situation. The German sniper was systematically eliminating his comrades, dismantling the carefully constructed network of Soviet marksmen and undermining the very effectiveness of the Soviet sniper movement. Each fallen comrade was a personal blow, and Zaytsev knew that if he did not act decisively, the psychological advantage they had painstakingly built would be irrevocably lost. He made the difficult and perilous decision to personally hunt down this elusive German adversary. It was a dangerous undertaking, a deadly game of cat and mouse played out in the most unforgiving environment imaginable, the shattered, frozen ruins of Stalingrad. He meticulously studied the German snipers' patterns, analyzing the locations of fallen Soviet marksmen, the angles of fire, and the precise times of day when attacks occurred. He knew he was up against a highly intelligent, patient, and equally skilled opponent, someone who understood the sniper's craft as intimately as he did. This was not a quick skirmish. It would be a prolonged test of endurance, cunning, and nerve. A silent war waged across the bombed-out landscape, where every shadow held a potential threat and every breath could betray a position. Zaytsev understood that to defeat such an enemy, he would have to outthink him, to anticipate his moves, and to exploit the smallest error. The duel stretched over several tense days, a masterclass in patience, deception, and psychological warfare. Zaytsev, accompanied by his trusted spotter Nikolai Kulikov, and often joined by the political commissar Danilov, meticulously stalked their prey. They moved through the ruins, often crawling for hours through debris, shattered glass, and frozen rubble, seeking the slightest sign of the Germans' position. The German sniper, equally cautious and cunning, employed clever tactics, using decoys, shifting positions frequently, and exploiting the chaotic environment to avoid detection. On one occasion, Zaytsev and his team spotted a German helmet peeking out from behind a sheet of corrugated iron, a classic sniper's trick designed to draw fire and reveal an enemy's position. They waited, observing the helmet for hours, noting its subtle, almost imperceptible movements, confirming it was a decoy. Zaytsev, suspecting a trap, decided to use a counter-deception. He carefully placed a helmet on a stick, slowly raising it above their cover. A shot rang out, piercing the helmet, confirming the Germans' exact firing position. Zaytsev and Kulikov then waited for the sun to set, knowing the German would likely move under the cover of darkness to a new, more advantageous position. The next morning, as the sun rose, they patiently scanned the area. They finally saw a slight glint from under the sheet of iron, a telltale sign of a scope reflecting the morning light. Zaytsev, with unwavering focus and a lifetime of training guiding his hand, took his shot. The German sniper, Major König, fell, his reign of terror brought to an abrupt end. The immediate result of this deadly encounter was a palpable and profound shift in the atmosphere across the Soviet lines. The German super sniper, who had terrorized the Soviet defenders for days, systematically picking off their best marksmen, was gone. The news spread like wildfire among the Soviet troops, boosting morale and reaffirming their belief in Zaytsev's legendary status. For the Germans, it was a significant and demoralizing blow, not just the loss of a highly skilled marksman, but the psychological defeat of their elite hunter, a symbol of their supposed superiority. The duel had ended, and the Soviet spirit of defiance had not only endured but had prevailed, proving that even the most formidable individual threats could be overcome by courage and superior tactics. The elimination of the German super sniper had an immediate and profound impact on the Battle of Stalingrad, reverberating through the ranks of both armies. For the Soviet forces, it was a powerful morale booster, a tangible victory in a conflict often measured in inches of recaptured ground and immense human cost. Zaytsev's legend grew exponentially, transforming him into a national hero and inspiring countless other soldiers to take up sniping. He continued to serve with distinction, not only as an unparalleled marksman, but as a dedicated teacher, training more than 24 other snipers, many of whom became highly effective themselves, earning the title Zaychata, Little Hares. His innovative sixes method, which involved positioning 3 snipers in a small area to cover different sectors and provide mutual support, became a standard tactic, multiplying the effectiveness of Soviet snipers across the front. The psychological advantage that the Germans had sought to regain was firmly back in Soviet hands, as their soldiers moved with renewed confidence, while the German troops remained wary of the unseen threat, constantly looking over their shoulders. Zaytsev's actions demonstrated that even in the largest and most mechanized of wars, individual skill, courage, and tactical ingenuity could still turn the tide of battle, influencing the morale and operational capabilities of entire armies. Vasily Zaytsev's story, particularly his legendary duel with the German sniper, became a powerful and enduring symbol of Soviet resistance and resilience. It was heavily promoted by Soviet propaganda, transforming him into a national hero and embodying the unwavering determination of the Red Army. Beyond the propaganda, his tactics and philosophy of sniping had a lasting and significant impact on military doctrine. He emphasized not just raw marksmanship, but also the critical importance of patience, meticulous camouflage, and the psychological aspect of the hunt, understanding the enemy's movements and exploiting their fears. His methods were adopted and rigorously taught in sniper schools throughout the Soviet Union, contributing to the development of highly effective sniper units that continued to plague the Wehrmacht throughout the war, inflicting disproportionate casualties on key personnel. The Battle of Stalingrad itself became a pivotal turning point on the Eastern Front, marking the beginning of the end for the German offensive. Zaytsev's personal contributions, though individual, played a significant role in maintaining the fighting spirit and tactical effectiveness that ultimately led to the German defeat in the city, a victory that shifted the momentum of the entire war. His legacy transcended his personal kills, shaping the future of military sniping. After the war, Vasily Zaytsev continued to serve in the military, eventually rising to the rank of colonel. His dedication to his country did not end with the cessation of hostilities. Following his military career, he transitioned to civilian life, becoming director of an engineering plant in Kiev, Ukraine, where he applied the same discipline and strategic thinking that had made him a legendary sniper. He remained deeply committed to military training and education, often speaking to young soldiers and sharing his invaluable wartime experiences and tactical insights. He authored a compelling book, Notes of a Sniper, which detailed his wartime experiences, his philosophy of combat, and the tactical innovations he developed. This memoir provided a unique first-hand account of the brutal realities of the Eastern Front and the psychological warfare inherent in sniping. Zaytsev lived a full life, passing away in 1991, just months before the dissolution of the Soviet Union. His legacy endured not only in military history and the annals of the Great Patriotic War, but also in popular culture, cementing his place as one of the most famous and influential snipers of all time. His story continues to be a powerful testament to the extraordinary human capacity for courage, determination, and ingenuity in the face of overwhelming adversity. A reminder that even in the darkest hours, individual acts of heroism can inspire millions and alter the course of history. This is the true legacy of Vasily Zaytsev and the Soviet snipers of Stalingrad. It is proof that even in the darkest times, when everything seems lost, when the world tells you that you are defeated, a few determined individuals can change history. One shot at a time, one act of defiance at a time, one unwavering refusal to surrender. And in doing so, they prove that the human spirit, tempered by suffering and ignited by righteous anger, is stronger than any propaganda, stronger than any numerical superiority, stronger than any war machine. Their story reminds us that true strength does not come from the quantity of weapons or the size of armies. It comes from what you fight for and why you refuse to surrender. And sometimes, just sometimes, that is enough to change the world.